Here are 12 unique habits for profound spiritual growth. Number 1, offer your practice to something greater. Oftentimes I notice that people meditate because they want peace or they want to be happier. But who we really are, or what we really are, is pure selfless love. Love is completely selfless. It's not looking to gain something, it's looking always to give. So if we can go into meditation and take this devotional act as if we're surrendering the practice completely, we're offering the practice completely to something greater. I call it the divine. We're offering actually ourselves to something greater. Then that becomes an act of love. So by offering the practice to something greater, rather than trying to acquire things from meditation, just see it as you giving yourself completely, you will find that you progress much further. This leads on to number 2, which is look at discipline as a devotional act. With that same mindset of when I'm operating from a place of love, I'm outward projecting. I'm not looking at what I can gain, I'm looking at what I can give and what I can do. And through the doing, you experience the love. You experience that love through giving more. So if you can look at discipline, because I often encourage you guys and my students inside my school to try as best as you can to live a balanced, regulated, disciplined life. Not an extreme life, but regulated and balanced. Do it from a devotional place. Look at the body that you get to enjoy and see the fact that you are eating healthy food or that you're sleeping properly and doing all of these healthy habits as a kind of thanks and offering of gratitude for the fact that you get to experience the body, all of the things that come with the body. It's an absolute miracle. And if we can look at the discipline of looking after the body and disciplining other areas of our life in that way, it becomes much easier to stick to it. Number 3, practice deserve, not deserve. This is really about discrimination. So it's the ability to say yes or say no to something, make decisions. And I've noticed that many spiritual seekers, because they're very gentle souls, they're kind people, they're trying to work on developing compassion and love, which I'm sure you've heard about. Everyone in the spiritual space understands, and I've already mentioned it in this video. It's very important to develop love. But love is not foolish. Love doesn't allow people to take control of you or push you around or not respect your time. Love is firm when it needs to be firm, like a parent with their child. This is all about having healthy boundaries. It's all about learning when to say no. So you're not using it to divide. It's not like a really cold no, but you're using it to remain in divine alignment. It's always this yin-yang balance of doing something from a place of love and gentleness, but at the same time, when necessary, be firm, say no, set boundaries. This is really, really important as spiritual people, that we don't get walked all over. Number 4, self-audit every single night. This is such an amazing way of looking at your day and looking at where you were coming from a place of ego, or where perhaps an emotion like anger or jealousy got hold of you and dominated the way that you were behaving or the way that you were thinking in that moment. But just looking at our day quite practically and saying, okay, this is what I did quite well. This is an area where I could definitely improve. So tomorrow I'm going to see if I can refine that a little bit. And just a quick one, if you're looking for help with your meditation practice and your spiritual path, then I've got an online school. It's an amazing, amazing space for spiritual seekers to learn and grow together. We have online classes. There's lots of other video courses inside. So if you want to check it out, I'll leave a link in the description below and you can join us there. Number 5, at least once a day, stop, look around you, look at nature, look at the trees, look at the birds, look at whatever else is around you, and remove all of the labels from them. Don't call it a tree, don't call it a bird, don't call it green, don't call it whatever color or shape it may be, and just see it as a manifestation of the divine, of God, of the universe. What this is doing is it's stripping away the conditioning that's been added to us from birth. From birth, we've been taught that's a tree, that's a trunk, that's a leaf, that's green, that flies, that's got wings, that's this shape, that's that name. You can see how we've been given all of these these labels and all of this conditioning, which for a human being is needed, it's necessary, it's totally fine. But when you're starting to look at life from a spiritual perspective, it's very, very powerful to develop this habit of looking at everything and removing all of the labels from it and just seeing it as oneness, just seeing it as a manifestation of the divine. Number 6, live your life like a bit of a meditation. Now, a lot of people will say this, and it's very hard to do all throughout the day. And I don't want to overwhelm you and make you think that you should be walking around permanent, constant communion with the divine, because I'm sure people can do that. But for most of us, we have busy lives, we have families, friends, hobbies, jobs, and things. So it's not possible, or it's very, very difficult at the very least. So as a way of working with that, I just want you to understand that although we don't need to be in a constant state of communion, because that, as I say, is very difficult, throughout the day, just finding ways of communicating with Source and connecting with your spiritual side through either contemplation, through expressing gratitude for things, through going through the practice I mentioned before about looking at everything as the divine. So what I'm really getting at is, don't just look at your spiritual practice as the time when you sit down to meditate. Try to allow that to unfold naturally and merge into the entirety of your day or parts of your day, so it's scattered throughout the day more and more and more. And what you'll find is that to begin with, you might only be able to do this a couple of times throughout the day. But over the course of months and years, if you continue at that and you continue working at that, you'll find that you give more of yourself all throughout the day. It becomes easier to be talking to the divine in your mind and to be basically giving more of yourself to this work. Number 7, pray like a child to the divine. This is often misunderstood, and I understand why, because on the one hand, I tell people everything is the divine, you're the divine, and then on the other hand, I'm telling people pray to the divine as if you're like a little child, offer everything, be very respectful, talk to God like God is enormous and infinite and powerful. And how do these two sides weigh up? The reason that I advise people to take this approach of being like a child in front of the divine is because the part of us that feels like a child and that feels really small and minute is the sense of I. So by taking that stance of I'm really respectful, the divine is above me and powerful, we're actually reducing our sense of I. So as I was saying at the start, the more we start to diminish who we think we are, the more we start to become who we really are. And the more humility we can develop, and this does take a lot of humility, and for a Western mind, it can be hard to take that stance of God is amazing and powerful, and I'm just a small child saying thank you for my water. The reason that we really do it is because it requires us to develop a lot of humility, and with that humility, it diminishes the ego. So it's a very, very powerful way of communicating with the divine while simultaneously reducing our ego. Number 8, carry or wear something sacred every day. I tend to wear these little bands. They're not for fashion. It's not because I think I look really spiritual when I wear this band. It's more so that when I'm out and about, I've got some way of reminding me of this spiritual side of myself. As soon as I see these bands, I often just associate them with spirituality. My mind goes to spiritual places. So if I have the tendency of forgetting this type of work and getting caught up in meaningless thought, these help to bring me back from time to time. So it doesn't need to necessarily be a band. It might be, for some people, a tattoo. I mean, I've not got any tattoos, but for some people it might be. It could be a band. It could be a proper Japa mala beads. It can be whatever you want. It might be a little photo that you put in by your workspace. It could be anything like that. Having something is really, really helpful to help you to connect more frequently throughout the day. Number 9, keep a divine journal. A journal that is dedicated purely to how the divine is helping you and working with you in your daily life. So rather than looking at the things that are coming to you as a creation of yourself and something that you've manifested and you've developed, look at those things and attribute them to the divine or to God, whatever you call it. Now, gratitude is like a foundation, which from that foundation, more and more love can develop. I noticed that a lot of seekers say, I want to develop more love for the divine. It's not something that necessarily is coming really naturally. Well, start with gratitude. Gratitude for the divine is amazingly powerful. And you don't need to look at all the massive things that are on in your life. Look at the really small things. Look at the fact that you get to have a glass of water easily from the tap. Look at the fact that you've got a fridge. Look at the fact that you've got clothes. Go really, really small and tiny detail, but create a journal purely dedicated for gratitude towards the divine. Number 10, practice non-attachment. Everyone has heard that non-attachment is definitely the way to be, and it's a great practice to start to integrate into our lives. But very few people tell you how to integrate non-attachment into your life. Well, the Tibetan Buddhist monks, they used to make these amazing sand mandalas, and they would spend days and weeks curating these beautiful, massive sand mandalas. And it was a pure act of love. They, put themselves fully into it. They were completely present as they're doing it. And they'd spend all that time perfecting it. And then as soon as they had finished, they'd rub it all out. And the idea was that they're practicing this understanding that nothing is permanent. Everything in this existence is temporary. And that beautiful mandala that they'd spent all that time curating was also temporary. And they're teaching themselves that we can enjoy it in the moment. I can be present with it in the moment, but I need to understand that it will be gone. And it might be gone tomorrow, it might be gone in 10 years. But they were doing it in a kind of conscious way where they rub it all out and practice non-attachment in that moment. So one way that you can practice non-attachment without going to that extreme is to walk about in daily life, and when you notice your mind diverting off to something, so say for example you see a beautiful person walking down the street and you might notice them and in your mind think, wow, they're a really pretty person, then try to switch off. So rather than in 10 minutes time still dwelling on them and thinking, wow, they're really beautiful, I wonder if I'll see them tomorrow, maybe I can find them on this app, or no, let it go. Obviously if you're single then that's different, but for those of you out there that maybe have partners, it's okay to acknowledge that someone's perhaps pretty, but try to just switch off from it. Same if you're, say, perhaps someone who is a fanatic with cars, or you really enjoy cars or bikes or houses, or there's something that you really value. Try to develop the habit of noticing it, and then as soon as you've moved on from it physically, also move on mentally. It's when we've moved on from something physically, but our mind is still on it mentally, that we're starting to form this attachment. So the practice of non-attachment, or a way to practice non-attachment, is when we've moved on from something physically, make sure we've also moved on mentally. 11, develop the habit of thanking the divine for something that you didn't necessarily want. So it might be that it rained when you were walking to work. It might be that you got stuck in traffic on the way to work. Form the habit of thanking the divine for that, and understanding that those moments are when we develop more patience. There are so many things that we go through in life that form amazing parts of us. They create fertile soil for these amazing parts of us to manifest. And we often resent them because we see them as negative things. But if we can start to form the habit of thanking the divine, especially for challenging times, especially for times when we're struggling a bit or when life's a bit hard, this can allow us to look at these difficulties from a totally different perspective, and actually it makes it easier to walk through them. 12, pretend it is your last ever meditation session, and that by the end of the session you will be merged with the divine and you will totally understand your nature. Now, when I say this, I'm not saying develop expectation, but what I am saying is try not to look at your meditation practice as something that is a really long road. It's something that you need to spend 10 lifetimes and 30 years every single lifetime practicing. That may be true, who knows? But it's more valuable for us to take this energy into the meditation. Like this is the one. This is where things are going to happen. And it's kind of like you taking more intent into that practice. It's giving more value to that practice rather than seeing it as a kind of box that needs ticking that day. You're going into it with a completely different energy. So when you sit down next time, try to sit down and think to myself, okay, if this was the last meditation I was ever going to do, what sort of energy would I carry into it? What sort of mindset would I have? This can really help you to get the most out of your practice. So there you have it, 12 unique habits to progress spiritually. If you need more help, as I said earlier, check out the link in the description to join my online school, but failing that, I will see you on the next video. Thanks a lot.